Watch this.
A day to remember, Memorial Day 2023. Across the country, Americans are pausing to pay tribute to the men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice while serving our country. Here in Idaho, our team was across the Treasure Valley today for the sights, sounds, and lessons on this Memorial Day. From Boise to Caldwell to Nampa to Meridian and in between, communities are talking about the heroes of the past. And it's a picture-perfect day, too, here in Idaho, and our weather team is tracking your barbecue forecast. We're also going to take a look back at a bummer Memorial Day from years past that was made better in an interesting way. John Miller will take us back in time. The 208 on your Monday is next. Thanks for joining us on the 208. Brian Holmes has the day off, as many of you do as well, because it is Memorial Day. And today is a day where families and friends get together to barbecue, hit the water, or just hang out as they enjoy the unofficial beginning of summer. But more importantly, today, Memorial Day, is also a day to remember and honor those we have lost serving in our military. Not to be mistaken with Veterans Day, which is every year on November 11th. But every Memorial Day, we get some questions. So maybe you don't know the difference or the history of Memorial Day. Well, here you go. Our country has two holidays to honor our nation's service members, each in very different ways. Memorial Day dates back to the Civil War. At the time, it was called Decoration Day. We celebrate Memorial Day on the last Monday in May, but originally it was celebrated every May 30th. And on that day, Americans would decorate the graves of Civil War soldiers. Even now, after more than 150 years, Memorial Day, as it's called now, is still meant to honor our service members who have died in the line of duty for our country. Now, Veterans Day, that's different. Established in 1919, it was originally called Armistice Day, aimed at celebrating the anniversary of the end of World War I. A much different tone than Memorial Day, Veterans Day is a celebration and recognition of all veterans. So that answers that viewer question, and the first widely observed Memorial Day was actually on May 30th, 1868, and it was to commemorate Civil War services through a proclamation by General John A. Logan of the Grand Army of the Republic, which was an organization of former Union soldiers and sailors. And today, people celebrate Memorial Day in the same way they did on the first one, by decorating graves and gravestones, even the graves of unknown soldiers, especially those. And this year, a few less graves are unmarked, all thanks to the pioneer chapter of the National Society, the Daughters of the American Revolution, the DAR. And last summer, they did research at the Idaho State Archives to find proof of service so they could submit applications to the Veterans Administration, all to give a name to the unmarked graves in the Morris Hill Cemetery, Silent Camp, and Field of Honor 1. And last month, they successfully set 17 new headstones. The Idaho State Archive said that 10 were considered unmarked and 7 were unknown veterans, all of who fought in wars before World War I. So the Civil War, Indian War, and the Spanish-American War. Volunteers around the community came together to set up the new headstones in a beautiful tribute. Memorial Day is a time to remember the people who died serving our country. And at the Warhawk Air Museum in Nampa, that's their whole purpose. They collect relics and memorabilia so we can continue looking at them. But for the last 20 years, they've also been working on collecting interesting stories. They're part of the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, and through it, the museum in Nampa is tasked with interviewing Idaho veterans and protecting their stories. Stories old as World War II and as recent as the Iraq War. The museum has 1,500 stories already recorded, but they're on DVDs. A grant is now making it possible, though, to digitize the files and keep those memories alive and more accessible. Andrew Bartline tells us about it.
To know history is to know how the past and present are connected. To know this year's leaves connect back to last decade's roots. At the Warhawk Air Museum, they know all about the roots. They know how it's all connected.
I have a real admiration for all those people who've gone before us, and they've just kept us free, and it's a wonderful country thanks to them.
Barry Hill volunteers because this is personal.
Yeah, I served in the Air Force for 5.5 years.
He serves the museum today by conserving the memories collected.
I'll be interviewing Claire Kilton for our Veterans History Project in partnership with the Library of Congress.
Initially, we tried to get as many World War II veterans as we could, and we're so happy we were able to get their stories before they passed away.
But preserving these stories on DVD?
Well, these have
that's the hard part.
A fixed life. They're not going to be here forever. They will deteriorate over time.
Barry and museum director Sue Paul couldn't let that happen, and they aren't.
To digitize the films.
They received a grant from the Canyon County Historical Society.
They gave us $24,000 for the first 500, and we have almost 1,500. So this is a beginning for us. It's an incredible beginning for us.
It's the beginning for a lot of people.
I've had families come up to me so emotional because they had never heard their grandfather or grandmother tell a story, and yet they could sit on film after they were gone and watch them tell it with smiling and laughing and talking about who they, their experiences or crying because of an experience. So the personal part of that for families is incredible.
The Veterans History Project is in partnership with the Library of Congress, putting these stories into public record to be saved forever.
Rod with a flag on it so that we had a reference to round out on. If you tried to round out on the thing, you'd always land high, then it drops to the ground.
This guard is going to take you out and shoot you if you don't talk to me. And he asked me another question, and about that I got to thinking, I'm a PFC, I don't know anything, why would they shoot me?
There were still parachutes in the trees, and there were broken gliders, and there were even several hundred Germans on the beaches, but they weren't shooting at us, they were loading our supplies.
These are definitely veterans who never talked about it.
Stories that individually might just look like another leaf on the tree. But here, it matters more, traced back to the root.
And we've taken them up through all kinds of conflicts, all the way up to the most current situations around the world.
So those interviews, as Andrew mentioned, are in the process of being digitized, and there is a nice collection up right now online, and maybe a good time for a history lesson with the family. You can head on over to the Warhawk Air Museum website, scroll over to the Explore tab, and then you'll see there, click on the Veterans History Project. You can see veteran interviews organized by the conflict that soldiers were involved in, a free collection that will continue to grow. Just pick a video and watch it, and you can just see here live on the website so many great stories to share, all of them recorded out in Nampa. And our team has gone through the clips, and it really is amazing perspective and stories that are full of color and insight. And movies and history shows are awesome, but hearing veterans from a variety of wars describe their personal experience, it's very valuable. And the context and the story is telling from a variety of angles that you might not get through a movie. Speaking of the Warhawk Air Museum, it's the perfect place to spend Memorial Day because it is a memorial museum. So we went there today to see everyone who showed up to honor and learn stories held there. Our photojournalist, John Mark Crum, captured it all.
P-38, and then he flew some bombers, a B-17 and a B-24. My grandpa flew in World War II. Here they come, here they come. Wow.
To see him change?
Wow, yeah. We came out here to celebrate Memorial Day. We thought it would be cool to come to the museum and watch the planes fly overhead.
Oh, wow, they're beautiful.
So I have one grandpa that flew fighter planes, fighter jets, and one grandpa that helped design them.
I've never seen one.
Yeah, my kids have never seen them. I have, so I wanted them to come out and be able to have this experience. To be able to be up close is really, really neat.
Can you imagine a whole fleet of those going off to fight a war?
I can't imagine taking off from Pearl Harbor and knowing that you were going to die as you were going up. That was a sacrifice.
That was.
Super proud. Yeah, very proud. You want to lift them up to see the inside? It's important to honor their service and important to celebrate the freedoms that we have. We're really grateful to live in this country, and it's fun to be able to remember and support those that have helped to secure our freedom. My kids weren't able to meet my grandpa. He passed away before they were born, so I think this helps to connect them with family that they didn't get to meet. So keep his story alive.
Warhawk Air Museum did just close at 5 p.m. today, but you can go and visit during regular hours, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Sundays from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. Admission is $15 for adults, $12 for seniors, veterans and military, and $5 for kids 5 to 12 years old. If you've never been before, check it out. Take the family. Worth a day in Nampa. Earlier today, the Idaho State Veterans Cemetery hosted their Memorial Day tribute, a moving ceremony thanking and honoring the men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice for our country. And it was a beautiful day for the tribute. Our photojournalist Jason Foster was there to capture the emotion and the service.
We can do no more for those buried here but to honor them and to remember them as we do today for the sacrifices they made in service to their country.
We set aside Memorial Day to honor America's defenders, the ones who earned and deserved our reverence, recognition, and respect. Where we remember the countless brave men and women who died in service to our country. This day is a reminder to all of us to pass down these values to generations after us. That's why it's always rewarding to me to see young people here at this event.
It is my distinct honor to introduce Idaho's senior enlisted leader, Command Sergeant Major Alice Mapes.
This is a 5-minute speech, but I made it 5 minutes because it has to go 8 minutes through my tears, okay? So bear with me here. I've always felt it is important to share whatever we would learn about those who have gone before us, to carry their legacies on.
Let's all commit ourselves to making sure this generation and everyone after it honors those who serve in the military forces, especially those that died. The future of our country depends on it.
We've showed you the great organized events at the Veterans Cemetery, Memorial Day events, as well as the Warhawk Air Museum in Nampa. So many unique stories and history, and sometimes the events are on a more personal level, though. It could be a personal, somber journey to visit those veterans who were closest to us. Here's a taste of Meridian's Memorial Day and Memorial Day at the Boise cemeteries.
We had a little guy who's carrying the flag, really realistic for that era, because those little kids carried the flag for the companies in the Civil War. I think it's very special. I live over the hill, and for years, I took care of this. I planted the bulbs by the graves, and We planted some trees on the side of the hill here, and we painted the fence. My wife and I painted this fence. I think they just have Indian and Civil War veterans. I started out in the National Guard in New Hampshire, and the Korean War was going on, so I thought, well, I think I'll enlist in the regular Army. So I enlisted in the paratroopers and went through jump school and regular school. And it's kind of ironic because my National Guard outfit went to Korea and got all shot up. I think about it.
I joined the Coast Guard and served both at sea and ashore for 5 years.
Franklin Wesley B. Sargent, Army, World War II.
And I was serving in the memory of my father. I had some conversations with him, but I think as probably most or many veterans of that era, they didn't often say much. What struck me is the breadth and the duration of all these men and women that served and perished in many different types of battles. Some threatening our homeland immediately, like World War II, and others that were served because they felt the call.
So a lot going on today to honor those we've lost, and an important day to stop and think about what it all means. Another part of Memorial Day, though, is enjoying some sunshine and being with loved ones, appreciating what the ultimate sacrifices have helped create here in Idaho. But what about Memorial Day back in the day? Well, we were thinking, wonder what it looked like back in the 90s. Our beloved John Miller takes us back to a gloomy Memorial Day in 1998 to show us how a not-so-gloomy father and son celebrate.
On a Memorial Day, when the picnic tables and playgrounds are empty, the ground is soggy and the sky is gray, Sandy Weaver knows he can count on Mother Nature for one thing.
A little bit of breeze for us today.
Because even if she steals the sunshine, you just can't have Memorial Day without kites.
That's right. Memorial Day, I don't care if it rains, snows, or whatever. We're going to be out here flying kites. Tim's been flying for about 3 years now.
I don't know. I just think it's really fun.
If he could live down here, he'd live down here constantly flying kites.
So some people would say you guys are kind of diehards to be out here today.
Yeah, we're the diehard kite people. See the movement of the hands there? What we're doing is we got our right hand to turn right, our left hand to turn left.
Ripping back and forth against the ugliest horizon you'll ever see. A day when you can't keep the camera lens dry, but you can't dampen the spirits of a father and son who won't let gray skies give them the Memorial Day blues.
It's going to be a beautiful day to fly out here, even if it is sprinkling all day.
So you don't mind on the color of the sky, just
nope.
The direction of the wind?
As long as it's wind, I don't really care if it rains, snows, or whatever. We'll just stay here and fly all day.
John Miller, Idaho's News Channel 7.
All right, so 25 years later, it's a bit more sunny on this Memorial Day. Remember a year ago? Not the case. Anyways, we hope that you did get to enjoy some time with your family today. We'll be right back after this.
All right, you heard Joe allude to it right before the break, but I thought we'd take a quick look back at our past 5 Memorial Days in Boise. Do you remember last year? A high temperature of 51 degrees and nearly 1/3 of an inch of rain. That will put a damper on backyard barbecue plans and any sort of festivities, and that was by far the coolest Memorial Day out of the last 5. This year, we're closer to that 87 degrees from 2 years ago. And speaking of rain, we've seen none in the Treasure Valley. In fact, we have beautiful blue sky still over Boise, but look what is happening south of Twin Falls. There are some strong storms rolling through, enough so that we have flash flood watches and warnings in effect for the Southwest Highlands and then portions of Twin Falls and Cassia counties. An inch or more of rain has already fallen from some of those storms, and more, of course, is continuing to come down. So kind of a dicey situation setting up there, but look at our blue skies over the City of Trees, and we're at 84 degrees. This is abnormally warm for this point in the month of May. If you're headed out still this evening, maybe enjoy an after barbecue walk or take the dogs around the block, or maybe the kids just still want to splash around in the neighborhood pool. It'll be a really nice evening. We'll be in the 80s until about 8 o'clock or so tonight, dipping into those 70s right after sunset, but still a really pleasant Monday evening. And then starting tomorrow, here come the storm chances once again. We have a cold front that will push through on Wednesday. That will drop our temperatures, and then we'll keep storm chances around through the middle of the week, but nice and sunny and warm again by Friday.
What does success look like to you?
This filled with kids and families enjoying it and staying here all day playing in it.
Well, this week, you will be able to jump into a brand new Idaho icon. Yes, the long-awaited new Ann Morrison fountain is set to open this week. And for decades, the fountain at Ann Morrison was essentially a place to take a picture. Remember this design? Maybe hang out for a bit. Well, did you know you really weren't supposed to get in the water before, but now it's going to be the polar opposite. People will be encouraged to jump into the fountain for some fun in the sun, a really good time. And it's got a lot to offer. Boise Parks and Rec Director Doug Holloway breaks this down for us. Doug, give us the specs.
We have 14 different little waterfalls. They're called water weirs, but we refer to them as waterfalls. They're at the base of the seating at both ends of the spray feature of the fountain. This is about 70 feet in length. There are 69 individual water jets that spew water. They're on various types of programs. We can do a manual program. We can do an automated program. It also has 69 different LED lights that are all embedded in each of the jets.
So when we gave you the first look of that fountain on the 208, I forgot to mention one of the coolest features of the fountain. So let's do this again real quick since it's the week of. We mentioned the LED lights in the fountain. Well, look at those. Best shown at nighttime. Yes, it'll be Water Show Central at Ann Morrison Park. They can configure unlimited colors and water patterns combinations. So right on cue, 4th of July, maybe red, white, and blue water show. So there you go. That's the actual fountain that they were testing out for us. So the City of Boise invites the community to celebrate the new fountain this Wednesday, May 31st at 4 p.m. City of Boise tells us in their invite there will be music, ice cream from Sunset Soft Serve. There'll be some food trucks. Bring the whole family, bring a blankie, wear your swimsuit and your water sandals, and we'll see you out there. All right, 208 wraps up after this. All right, folks, our text messaging system that we put up on the board, it took the holiday off. So I'm just going to tell you, I was reading all your text messages during the show. Thank you so much for sending them in. I know a few of you thanking us for our coverage. One that I really wanted to share is Teresa. Teresa wrote in to us that my father is one of the first veterans to donate his World War II memorabilia to the Warhawk. I was able to catch their flyover this morning, and it always brings tears to my eyes. It's from Teresa, and Teresa and I were chatting in between the commercial break, and she also added that the museum meant the world to him, and he was able to work through some of the issues he came home with. So the Warhawk Air Museum out in Nampa, go check it out. It's very cool. But yes, enjoy some time with your family. We'll be back tomorrow at 5.